driver. His name is Angel or Angel.
Hello.
And the bus ride from here to our first stop is probably 15 minutes, okay? Ya podemos salir si quieres. Before I start though, I want to know how many of you is it your first time here to the island? Okay. Or is everyone here from the US or have any other nationality on the bus?
Ireland.
Ireland? UK? Okay.
Philippines.
Huh? Philippines. Okay. So, if you haven't heard it yet today, I want to welcome you all to the island of Roatan. And this island that you're on right now is the largest island within Honduras, but also this is a provincial capital. In Honduras, we have 18 provinces or 18 small little states, and the province that you're in right now, or the state that you're in right now, goes by the name of the Bay Islands. Altogether, the Bay Island consists of 8 islands, and these islands are all close to one another. But before these islands became Honduran territory in 1859, they were British. And because of that British history is why here on the islands, the first language that we speak is English and then Spanish. But Spanish only because Honduras as a whole is a majority Spanish-speaking country. 97% of the Honduran population speaks Spanish as a first language. And that 3% that mainly speaks English are only within the islands. But the English that we speak on this island, it is not like what I'm trying to speak to you guys right now on the bus ride. It is completely different from this. Here what we call it is Creole English, which is a dialect widely spoken within the Caribbean. On some islands they call it broken English. The most popular Caribbean accent is the Jamaican one. In Jamaica they call it patois. But from island to island, what mainly changes is the accent. On some islands it's very thick. Here on Roatan it is very light. And even though I do speak the Creole, I'm not the perfect example to show it to you guys because for my generation, we've been losing a bit on the Creole year after year. And if I can use this term, I can say that my generation, we are a bit more Americanized. But if you speak to my mom, my grandma, my great-grandmother, their accent in comparison to mine is very, very thick. But also, most of the younger generation speaks more Spanish than the older generation because the Honduran government didn't, let's say, implement a proper school system on this island until the late 80s. Yeah, and that's why most of the younger generation speaks more Spanish in comparison to the older generation. I want to show you guys something. If you can notice on the side of the roads, where you see the people holding the signs, well, I would have loved you guys to see earlier this morning, similar to how it is right now, but just earlier this morning, it was way more packed because outside here, these are independent tour excursions. They're not with Norwegian or with the cruise company, but sometimes guests, they would book an excursion on another website, but because they didn't book it through the cruise line, that's why they'll have to walk outside of the port complex, walk outside here to continue with those tours. And later on in the day, like I said, most of them have left. Later on in the day, they're all going to be gone. So it lets you know that tourism is what drives and moves the economy on this island. Right now, we are in our high season with the cruise liners here. The medium and the high cruise ship season together is for 7 to 8 months out of the year. And during that 7 to 8 month span, we can receive from 7 to 19 cruise liners in 1 week. Most in a day, 5 within a day. But when we have 5 in a day, it's very hectic across here. The port that you guys are docked at right now is only one of 2 ports that we have here. This port belongs to Royal Caribbean Corporation, and there's a next one that you're going to see today on the boat ride that belongs to Carnival Corporation. But the Carnival port, it can also only dock 2 ships, but the size of it, like store-wise, it's like 20 times larger than the port where you guys are at right now. On a very, well, the most days consecutively that we receive cruise liners here is for 23 consecutive days. Well, that I've recorded. The island is 36 miles long, and at the widest point, it goes 8 miles across. The population on this island is a bit over 80,000 people, according to the recent census. But some of the islanders will say, put it at more because, the government isn't as efficient when they do those census. But still, I stick to the national, to the government's numbers. But for Honduras as a country, the population is over 9.2 million. Wow. If I could compare Honduras in size to a U.S. state, Honduras would be in between these 2 U.S. states related to size. Larger than Virginia, and around 5 square miles smaller than the U.S. state of Ohio. And in the UK, it would be 1/4 the size of the UK. Huh? Yeah. So guys, right now, we are riding through a small portion of the main town area. The name of our main town is called Cox and Hole. Anything you want to get done on the island, you have to come here to do it. It's where most of the banks, schools, supermarket, government administrative buildings, 2 of the 3 hospitals, and most of the stores are at. And also on this island, we only export one thing, seafood. Everything else is imported, and most of that import comes through this main town area. And I'll be honest, our main town really isn't as developed in comparison to other areas across the island. But like I did mention earlier, anything you want to get done, you have to come here. On the bus ride today, development-wise, you guys are not going to get to see that much. I'm going to explain why. But first, when I have a map to show you guys of exactly what you're going to be seeing today on the tour. I was talking to some guests earlier. You guys are really lucky with the weather today, because the rain was forecast in the weather for today, and we are in our rainy season right now. The rainy season here starts in October, and it finishes late March or early April. But through the year, we get over 120 inches of rain. And also, this is considered to be our winter, so I hope it's not too cold for some of you guys. But the island, because of the British history, and you know the British church separated from the Catholic Church a very long time back, from the British settlement on the island, what you have is one of those movements that separated, or one of those Protestant movements that separated within the English church. And the largest congregation that we have here on the island is the Methodists. After the Methodists, you have the Baptists, then Episcopals, then you have the Seventh-day Adventists, and you other smaller congregation, but the Methodist is the largest one. They have a presence almost in every community on the island, and altogether there's 32 communities on this island.
Oh, wow.
But in the country, like I did mention, the difference between the island and the mainland, you know, with the history of the 2 regions, mainland Honduras was Spanish territory and the island was British territory, but also the demographics tends to change as well, because on mainland Honduras, most of the population is Hispanic or Mestizo, and Mestizo means a combination of Spaniards that came to the country and natives from the country. And on the island, most of the local population is black. But also the reason for that is because on mainland Honduras, back in those days, the slave trade wasn't strong, so that's why there isn't much of a black population on mainland Honduras. On the island, the slave trade was strong, and after the emancipation of slavery within the Caribbean, most of those settlers, they returned home. But who stayed on that land was those free slaves. So also one of the next ways to tell the difference between an islander and a mainlander is that most islanders, well, islanders in general, well, most of them have very English surnames. And for example, at the beginning of the tour, I mentioned one of my surnames, Hamilton. In Honduras, we carry 2 surnames. My first surname is Hamilton, my second surname is Grant. So we receive one from the mom and one from the dad. But you know, just to show you how it can get, right? If I was able to take the 2 surnames from my dad and the 2 surnames from my mom, all together it would be Hamilton, Grant, Thomas, and Johnson. I don't think you can get any more English than that, right? But just giving you guys an example of how it is. So guys, right now, so this is Roatan right here. Where you guys are docked at right now, you're docked right here. Where we're going all throughout today on the tour is all across this route up until up here, okay? So all throughout today, you guys are going to be concentrated in the middle area of the island. But the middle area of the island and the far east side of the island is considered to be the least developed and also in a sense the most impoverished side. I'll explain why it is like that, but further along on the tour. Now down here on the west and all across the beaches on the north and the south shore, that is like our hotel and resort area. All throughout the island we have over 300 hotels and resorts, but most of them are concentrated on the far west side. So on the far west is where most of the jobs are at, and because most of the jobs are on the west side, most of the population is also concentrated on the west. But this is one next thing. Most of those jobs, they are within the tourism sector here, which is considered to be the best sector. We are a part of the Mesoamerican reef system, which is the 2nd largest in the world. It extends all the way from Mexico through Belize, Guatemala, Honduras. It ends in Nicaragua, and it covers all of these islands across here. On that map that you're holding, there's 176 dive sites, but the map that you're holding hasn't been updated since 2015. On the bottom of the map, you're going to see like a blue arrow pointing down. Let me know if you see it, okay?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, that blue arrow that you see, That is the route that the ferry would take you from here on Roatan to the nearest coastal city on mainland Honduras that is 40 miles south of here. If you go by ferry, it would take you an hour and a half to get to the nearest coastal city. But if you fly from here to there, it takes you 10 to 12 minutes, that's it. And I want to show you one last thing on the map before we put it up, but I don't know if you can notice.
What's the difference between the price of the ferry and the airplane?
Okay, the ferry comes right through that lake area. Okay, that is a channel. Any boats coming into this island, they have to have sufficient knowledge of the waterways across here to know where those channels are at, where the water's a bit deeper just to come in. If not, you'll hit into the reef. And on this island, many ships have hit into the reef. You're going to see a few wreckage today in the boat ride. Where you guys are docked at, and at the next cruise ship port, they had to cut a portion of that reef away just to create an entrance for those larger cruise ships to come in here. And even though a lot of people were against it here, the majority were for it because of the economic benefits. On this island, the population went from just a bit over 16,000 people in 1998 to over 80, almost 90,000 people. Huh? Okay. Well, the reason why I asked, guys, well, first of all, the house is locally owned. But that house that you're seeing to the left, and the guy who owns the house, he made his money honestly. But that is not even close to what real wealthy looks like on this island. Not even close. But the reason why I asked what would it cost where you're from is because in the US, you guys have one of the most, well, US, Europe, you guys have one of the most expensive labor markets. Where compared to Honduras, second poorest country in the Americas, very cheap labor market. And even though I know the location adds to the price of a home, but also the labor does also, because in Honduras, most of the construction that is done is concrete and cement type construction. But the guys working within concrete and cement, they're only making 15 to 20 US dollars a day. A day. Carpentry or woodwork, which is a bit more expensive, a bit more crafty, they're making 30 to 35 US dollars a day. And in most developed countries, they make around that or more than that in an hour. And I'm going to show you all of those other denominations, but later on. But first, let me show you the exchange rate for today. That one Imperial bill that you're holding in your hand, for the exact exchange rate, it's just a bit over 4 cents of a US dollar. So it's really not worth that much.
4 cents.
To be honest with you guys, if you're wondering what you can buy with it, you can't buy anything at all. And that is the reason that I told you guys to take a nice feel out of it, because if you ever see a next one like that one, it is not going to be in that condition. Because it's worth nothing. Normally when you find those bills, they're all ripped, torn, washed up, people they throw those away. Or they use them as sticky notes sometimes. Like I mentioned, with one you can't do anything at all. The only reason that they're in that condition, mint like that, is because I print these at my house.
Good job.
Just playing, guys.
For 4 cents.
I don't print them at my house, but to get them like this, every time I go to the bank, I will ask the teller, whenever I have any small change, to give me the new.
Հոնդուրասում ենք, Ռոթան կղզում, հիմա նավով պետք է մեր էքսկուրսիան շարունակենք։ Ավտոբուսով մեզ շիփից բերեցին այստեղ, հիմա ավտոբուսը կանգնեց, հիմա տեղափոխում են մարդկանց ավելի փոքր նավակի մեջ եւ այս նավակով շարունակելու ենք մեր ճանապարհորդությունը։
Alright guys, so as your guide Abner was telling you, my name is Henry. I'll be your boat captain for today. This is Chris. He's gonna be my dad. If you guys need some help taking your pictures, if you see something nice, he'll be right here for you. Our tour is 20 to 25 minutes long. We're gonna do some sightseeing today, guys. We're gonna see some mangroves and a couple of shipwrecks that have some history to it. So it's gonna be pretty fun, guys, and very dynamic at the same time. So guys, let's get ready to have a great time. You guys ready? Yeah! For you ladies and gentlemen that are wearing a hat, make sure you got it secure, guys. I don't want to send Christian overboard so soon in the morning.
Can Chris swim?
Yeah. Look forward. You see the green trees laying in the water? Those are actually the mangrove trees. The mangrove trees, they don't grow no eatable fruit. They only grow a little bean. As soon as the bean drop in the water, it sprouts another tree. That's how come you guys can see the mangroves laying so close together, guys. These mangroves are very protected by the government because these mangrove trees are actually benefit to the island in a lot of ways, guys. Invaders or invasive species, all of the birds sleep on the mangroves in the evenings, guys, and after, in the late evenings. Also, these trees, same roots, they help to filter the ocean, guys. When it rains, we get a lot of dirty water in the sea. These mangroves actually help to filter that dirty water so we can have clear, crystal clear water around here. In fact, that's how come we have crystal clear water around the Caribbean Sea, because we have a lot of mangroves. To be exact, guys, we have 1,200 patches of mangroves around the island. Some are a lot larger than others. These mangroves also help the island from the storms, when there's big winds coming into shore, we get a lot of protection from the mangroves, guys. No one is allowed to cut the mangroves, like I said, they're very protected by the government, guys. The green leaves on the mangroves, they said that the green leaves are actually medicine for asthma, guys. Just so you know, also the water temperature right here is about 80 degrees warm, guys. It's nice and warm. It's about 20 feet deep right here. On the very middle of the little channel here is about 25 to 30 feet deep. Below the water, we have a certain grass. It's called manatee grass or turtle grass. It's what the manatee rays eat, or the turtles, that's what they eat either early in the morning or late afternoon, guys. That what you see right there, that's just a cloud from, it's just a boat. Fuel tankers that used to bring fuel from Venezuela to Honduras. This ship was shipwrecked in 1980. She was coming, guys. She was about 5 miles offshore on the west side of the island, and she caught on fire. Well, she blew on fire, guys. The Marine Coast Guard, the Honduras Coast Guard, was right there to rescue everybody and to make sure there was no oil spill. So this was very controlled, guys. There was no oil spill on this one. Everybody was safe. Like I said, everyone was rescued. The owner of this ship back then apparently didn't have enough money to restore it, so he got a special permit from the government to sit in here for tourist attraction. It's been sitting here since 1980. Back in them days, there used to be a lot of fishing around here, guys. All of the local fishermen that had their boats and canoes, well, they would come and tie their boat here overnight and sleep on the boat overnight because it was still in livable conditions. So it was actually benefit for the fishermen as well, guys. They use it as street hotel. A few years later, after it was put here, guys, it was put here in 1980. So in 1998, we got hit by a really hard hurricane. It was called Hurricane Mitch. It did a lot of damage to the island, including to this ship. As you can see, a big split in the middle of the ship. That's what the hurricane did, guys. Half of the body of this vessel is in the water. This boat was originally from Holland, just so you know. So I'm gonna go around the shipwreck, guys. If you want some nice pictures, you can go ahead and feel free, guys, and take your pictures, and Christian can help you if you want also to take some pictures.
That they include almost with every meal, and that dish is the cassava bread. So to make the cassava bread, they use this root that you see right here. This is the cassava root, or manioc, tapioca. And then this one is already peeled. So what they do with the root is once they peel it and they wash it, they grate it. And this one here is a piece of wood embedded with stone to grate it. But once they grate it, all of that white substance that's left over, they'll put it in a cloth and they'll squeeze all of the liquid out. And that liquid, they just separate as starch. And that white substance that is left over, once they squeeze all the liquid out, they will sift it to get the flour from the cassava root. And once they sift it, they leave it, they let it dry out for some time. And then that flour, they'll just spread it across, let's say like a flat hot surface or like a flat stove. And they don't add anything to that flour, and it just sticks together to make the bread. And the bread sometimes can be as that says big as this, you know. And what we have here are some samples for that cassava bread if you guys would like to try. The only thing they added to it was a little bit of margarine on the top to give it a bit of flavor for you guys, okay? So I'm gonna pass it around if you guys would like to take a taste. So you can just take one and then just pass it across, okay? So that's the cassava bread. There's a next thing that we're also gonna make you guys sample, but we're not gonna show you how you make this one because we don't have the time, because this one is very long. But what you're gonna pass across is the coconut candy, which is also a special little treat here. I'm gonna pass this one across. There you go, if you guys would like to take a taste. Yeah. And guys, if you like, the lady here, she says this little bag in case if you liked it and you would like to buy one, okay? I think the cassava bread, son dos, ¿verdad? She says the bread for $2 the bag, and the coconut candy for also $2 the bag in case if you guys want to buy one, okay? And well, once you're done, if you want, then you guys can take a seat right across here for the little dance performance we want to do, okay?
Բիչը նորից նկարենք, քանի որ ժամանակ ունենք։ Ասում են, որ նավի օրերին, նավի եկած օրերին, երբ որ մի քանի նավեր միաժամանակ գալիս են, բավականին շատ մարդ է այստեղ լինում։ Բայց այսօր ինչ որ տեսնում ենք։ Շատ քիչ մարդիկ են։ Խաղաղ բիչ, եղանակը հրաշալի եղանակ, ջուրը շատ տաք, նույնիսկ սկզբի պահին, որ մտնում ես ջուրը, չես զգում ինչ-որ սառնություն, ընդհակառակը գոլ, տաք ջուր է, պարզ ջուրը, ինչպես ասեցի, հատակա, դա ներևում է։ Նորից ես կոկոնատները ցույց տամ, որտեղ շատ սիր ունեն, որ շատ լավ երևում է, հասած են